who rises to the top, who falls to the bottom, who blows it all up. Here are my predictions for the 2023-2024 NBA season. So I'm going to start at the bottom. Worst record in the league. Something no team wants, but somebody's got to take it. That, unfortunately, is going to be the Portland Trail Blazers. Obviously, Portland's in rebuild mode. They traded Dame, traded Nurkic. Portland's going to be playing with the future in mind and not winning today, so they're unfortunately going to have a good amount of losses this year, but they're okay with that. Goal for this year for Portland is just going to be to let their young guys play, let their young guys grow, learn, make mistakes. They may not win a lot of games, but that's okay. And it doesn't help that they're playing in a loaded, competitive Western Conference where everybody's going to be looking for wins, and they're probably going to try and get as many as they can off of the Portland Trail Blazers. Another team I think may be in the mix for the worst record in the NBA this year is going to be the Washington Wizards. They're the other team that offloaded a lot of their stars. Beal is gone. Porzingis is gone. They kept Kuzma, added Jordan Poole, but I really don't think they have the talent to compete with a lot of the better teams and even the middle of the pack teams. So I think Washington is going to be at the bottom there, but I think Portland being out west is just going to have a tough time getting wins against those Western Conference teams. Next time I'll talk about the rising teams, the teams I think are going to take it to the next level. When I look at the league, I think there's going to be a couple of teams, especially younger teams, that are improving and going to have a better season than they've had in the past. I think the Indiana Pacers are going to be a playoff team this year. I think they're going to jump some teams and get in there. Houston, bringing in Udoka, is going to add more structure there. I think he's going to get more out of the players, and they're going to be a better team. My prediction for the team that makes the biggest jump up is the Orlando Magic. I'm a big fan of Paolo Banchero. I like Franz Wagner. I think they've got some really good pieces that are all going to be improving and see how they can play off each other. There's obvious questions about their backcourt that need to be addressed. That seems like a weak point that they're going to need to get right to make that jump into the playoff contenders in the East. But with Banchero, with Wagner, I just think they're going to make a jump up. I can see them being a playoff team this year. Next, I'm going to talk about who I think is going to be the breakout player of the year. Players that came to mind for me for this breakout season included Banchero. I think he's going to be an all-star, whether it's this year or next year, but I do think this year he'll have a better year than even his rookie year, which already was very good. I think Benedict Mathurin for the Pacers is going to have a better year than last year. I think he's going to play a bigger role. They're going to lean on him a bit more for that scoring off of Halliburton. So I think he will have a better year in his second year than his rookie year, which also was very good. But for my pick, who's going to have the biggest breakout year? I'm looking at Houston, Jabari Smith Jr. I think Houston did the smart thing in bringing in a coach like Udoka to add a little bit more structure. That AAU-style game that they were playing before was not working, and Jalen Green was just chucking up anything he wanted. I think the structure that Udoka will bring in will highlight more of what Jabari Smith can do, and he will flourish in that system. I expect Smith to be much more of an impact player and a player people pay attention to and talk about throughout the league a little bit more. Now, in another version of breakout star, maybe not quite breakout star because it's their first year, but I'm going to talk about Rookie of the Year prediction. A popular pick for this award is obviously going to be Victor Wembanyama. I think Wembanyama is going to have a good year, but the Spurs are going to watch the minutes they play him. They're going to watch any injuries that may occur. They're going to give him rest. Their thought is thinking, we want this guy. They don't care about the Rookie of the Year award. They want him to be the anchor 5 years from now when they're trying to win a championship. So I don't think they're going to give him the minutes or the play to win this award compared to some others. Other than Wemby, the other player that I was excited to see and thought might be a favorite was Brandon Miller. He was my favorite player coming out of college basketball, but my pick for the Rookie of the Year is going to be Scoot Henderson. With Portland being in tanking mode, they're going to let their young guys play a bit more, have a little bit more freedom, have a bit more of a green light on the offensive end, and I think that's going to let Scoot put up some better stats than some of the other rookies are going to be able to put up. When it comes to the Rookie of the Year award, a lot of times it goes to who puts up the best stats because they're all on terrible teams, so it's not about how the team does, it's about who has the best stat lines as a rookie. I think Scoot's going to be able to put up the best stats of all of them. Also remember, Chet Holmgren is a rookie this year, so he might sneak in this race. Don't forget about Chet. On to my next prediction, and now we're getting into the sad boy hours, the most disappointing team of the year. This goes for the team that's hoping for something good this season, and it's just not playing out. Something you saw maybe last year from like the Dallas Mavericks coming off the Western Conference Finals to not making the playoffs. For me, this season's most disappointing team is going to be the Chicago Bulls. Not too long ago, Chicago was actually looking like one of the better teams out east with Lonzo playing healthy. LaVine was playing well. DeRozan, those guys were all still playing at all-star levels. And then, of course, the injury to Lonzo happens, and it just seems like the progress of the team has just halted, and they're just stuck in this middle ground. They don't really have the young players that you'd say, okay, we can look to them and build around them for the future. And the veterans they have really aren't getting the job done to challenge and make a run for any significant run in the playoffs. So I think this is the season that Chicago really hits that crossroads of what we're going to do with our future. DeRozan's on an expiring contract. You don't know exactly when Lonzo's coming back, and even if he does and when he does come back, what's he going to be like? How's he going to play? And do you want to just continue being this middle of the pack, maybe sneaking into the playoffs, a play-in spot type of team? Or are we just going to blow this up? Which leads me to my next prediction, the mid-season trade. Now, as of the recording of this video, James Harden is still a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. I think that will change eventually. I plan on making a whole video about the James Harden situation soon, so I'll talk more about that later. But going back to the Chicago Bulls, I predict DeMar DeRozan will not finish the season as a Chicago Bull. I think we're going to come around to January, and the Chicago Bulls are probably going to be sitting somewhere like 9th place, 10th place in the East, and they're going to look and say, look, we need to make some moves. We aren't going anywhere with this. DeMar DeRozan's on an expiring contract. Let's get something for him, or we lose him for nothing. Once we get to January, those summer signings can now be traded. So teams like the Lakers can trade the people they signed this year, Rudy Hachimura, Reeves if they need to, D'Angelo Russell. And you know LeBron is always looking for a midseason trade. I would not at all be surprised if you start hearing talks of DeMar DeRozan going to the Lakers for D'Angelo Russell and Rudy Hachimura, those type of trades going on. It raises the question, if Chicago decides to get rid of DeRozan, do they blow it all up? Do they trade away LaVine as well? Do they trade away Vucevic as well? I wouldn't be surprised to see Chicago go that direction of what you saw last year with the Brooklyn Nets, and that they just shipped off all their stars, got what they could back in draft capital and young players, and said, all right, we're building from the bottom. Let's go with this. And some other trades that could possibly happen, I know people talk about Karl Anthony Towns making his way out of Minnesota. I think they wait one more year. I think they're going to let this entire season see how it plays out. Obviously, last year was the first year with them bringing in Gobert. There was injuries. I think this year they see how that group works with Gobert, Edwards, and Cat. They run it through the year, see how they play. If it doesn't work out, I wouldn't be surprised to see them sending out Cat somewhere else, but I think they play the season out with him. Kyrie to the Lakers. It's not happening. All right, moving on to the next prediction, the in-season tournament. If you haven't heard, NBA's running their first ever in-season tournament. So they're modeling this in-season tournament off of European soccer, aka football, or the WNBA has something called the Commissioner Cup, which is an in-season tournament as well, I guess. I don't know. It will involve pool play, in which some of the regular season games are your pool matches. They'll play from pool play. The top seeds go into a single elimination tournament where they will play and one team will come out victorious. So it'll be interesting to see, do players kind of skip this and not worry about it too much, or is there going to be a competitive spirit to this and teams are actually going to care about winning this? I believe it's NBA Cup. The NBA Cup, I believe, is what they're calling this. It's even going to be an MVP to this of the NBA Cup in-season tournament, I guess. I don't know. So my prediction for the NBA in-season tournament, I'm just going to Boston, I guess. I think Boston will win it. I don't know why, but somebody's got to win it. I'm just going to pick Boston. Sure. Sounds good. The MVP will be Derrick White. Derrick White's he's going to ball out in this NBA Cup. MVP, Derrick White. The NBA regular season MVP, I think, goes to Jason Tatum. Boston, obviously, I think is going to have a good year. I think Tatum's going to lead them to that. He'll probably be their leading scorer. I think Boston will most likely be the number one seed out east. I think Milwaukee is going to more lean towards resting their players a bit more, just getting to the playoffs healthy. whereas Boston will look for more of seeding. And if Boston can get that number 1 seed and be the number 1 team out East, with Tatum having a similar year to last year, I could see him being the winner of the MVP for the regular season. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's get to the playoffs. I'm just going to go straight to the conference finals of each conference. Starting out with the Eastern Conference, the matchup we all want to see: Milwaukee Bucks, Boston Celtics. Let's go. We'll see what comes about with the James Harden situation in Philadelphia, if they can get somebody back for him or if he just works it out and they become this elite team. But it's obvious that Milwaukee and Boston are the 2 elite teams right now coming out of the East. And when those two go head-to-head in the playoffs, and if they meet, and especially if it's the Eastern Conference Final, man, that's going to be must-see TV. That's championship series right there by itself. I mean, the season didn't even start, and I'm excited for that. So I think those will be your 2 teams out of the East. And on the Western side of things, I'm going to throw my bold prediction out there. For the defending champion Denver Nuggets will not even make the Western Conference Finals. It's a tough thing to repeat as champions. It's draining. It's physically draining, mentally draining. I mean, I've never done it. I've just heard. But I'm going to guess that it's pretty tough. But my pick for the Western Conference Finals matchup is going to be the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings. Yes, I said Sacramento. I know it's kind of a bold prediction, but I think that they've got young players that are now growing in confidence. I think De'Aaron Fox is one of the best guards in the entire NBA. Sabonis is coming into his own. I think they've got good pieces around them. They showed that they weren't just a pushover in last year's playoffs. They took some of the best teams to the brink in the playoffs. I think they're going to be improved from last year, play with more confidence. They still have relatively young guys that can get the job done, and I think that are still getting better and haven't necessarily hit their top prime yet. And then I also have Phoenix there. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. This kind of reminds me of when Kevin Durant was on Golden State. They might not have that chemistry yet, but you surround one of the best players in the world with other capable players that can play off of him, which I think Booker and Bradley Beal will. I think you got top-level players, top-level scorers, and they're going to find a way to make it work. It's going to be a tough matchup for people to stop. You kind of almost have to pick your poison. They're going to have to work out this point guard issue, but I think that's something they're going to be able to figure out and really get things clicking, and they're just going to be a tough team to stop. And then we get to the NBA Finals, which I predict will be the Milwaukee Bucks and the Sacramento Kings. Yes, Sacramento, I said it. Obviously, I really like what Sacramento's doing, if you can't tell. Going a bit out there for them. Yes, I know it's a pretty big prediction. But I did predict last year that the Denver Nuggets were going to make it to the NBA Finals. I don't have a video of it, but trust me, I did. I do think Sacramento's luck runs out in the finals, and your champions will be the Milwaukee Bucks. I just think this Dame Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo duo is the best in the NBA. I think they fit each other perfectly for Milwaukee to pull off that trade. Get it done. I think they complement each other. I mean, they haven't played a game yet, so we'll see, but I think it's going to be just one hell of a duo there. Middleton, we'll see if he stays healthy. I mean, I just read something today that they're limiting his minutes because he's already injured and we haven't even started the season. But I think if he could stay healthy, you got Lopez. They're just solid, man. And I think just that 1-2 punch of Dame and Giannis is going to be too much to handle for any team in the NBA. NBA Finals MVP, I'm going to say Lillard. I think he balls out. Giannis, of course, will do his thing as well, but I think Dame's going to put up some big numbers. He's going to be tough to stop, especially having to deal with Giannis as well. He'll be able to play off of him. I think Dame wins Finals MVP. And those are my predictions for the 2023-2024 NBA season. Some crazy ones, some not so crazy ones. Let me know what you think. What are your predictions? Who's going to win it? Who's going to get traded? Let me know in the comments down low. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.